Good evening, everyone, and welcome to an exciting special edition of Pardon Our Picks, where perfection is a work in progress. I'm your host, Sam, and alongside me, as always, is my esteemed redheaded co-host, Tarik. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing pretty well, trying to stay warm in this very cold, windy weather. How about yourself?
Same. It's been a really cold couple days. Tomorrow ain't going to be any better. Of course, we are joined by our experts, the QB Queen, Jessica. How you doing tonight?
I'm good. How are you guys?
We're good.
Doing well.
Our magician of a statistician, Brady.
What's up, guys and gal?
And of course, our strong safety, Tom. How you doing?
What's going on, everybody?
It's going.
Of course, this week, we have no football, no pro balls,
Zero.
nothing. So we are going to bring you a very special, exciting edition, which is also brought to you by Morningwood Crafter, morningwoodcrafter.com, powered by design crafted by hand. So we are going to give you a sneak peek preview of how the Hall of Fame inductees are selected. And Tarik, why don't you run us through the process?
Okay, so the process. All right, so in order to be eligible, you can be a player or a coach, but they have to be retired for at least 5 years. That's the main requirement. Any other contributor, such as a team or owner, can be voted in at any time. So there's not a whole lot. It doesn't look like there's too many things, but fans can nominate. You can email. We can suggest anybody, but usually it comes up after they've been retired for 5 years is the main requirement. And there's not a set minimum, but usually they keep it down to about between 4 and 8 people, usually about 5 general inductees or enshrinees, and then about 3 special cases. So
All right, very nice. Of course, they break down from hundreds of players who retire down to just a small few. We're going to go through 5 of them today, including one senior committee enshrinee. And we're going to start with Calvin Johnson.
All right, guys. So this is my nominee for the Hall of Fame, Calvin Megatron Johnson. And you don't get a nickname after a robot without being an absolute machine. And as this video is showing, this man was making catches blind and in double and triple coverage, outrunning the defense. And this is just by the eye test. If we go into the stats, he is in the top 35 in receiving yards, even only after playing 8 total seasons. And in those 8 total seasons, he racked up almost 12,000 receiving yards. And those 12,000 receiving yards put him only 2 spots behind Michael Irvin, who was inducted into the Hall of Fame, who played on a much better team with the Cowboys, much higher powered offense, when Calvin Johnson played many of those years as the only real weapon that Detroit had. And like I said, this eye test right here, this is enough. He's a man on the field. He's making entire defenses like the Arizona Cardinals here. He just ran through 6 defenders. As I said, he only played for 8 seasons and he retired out of the blue. If he continued playing a normal NFL career, had another 4 or 5 years in here, this would be a no doubt case. But because he only had 8 years in the league, his Hall of Fame eligibility is in question by some people. But he revolutionized the wide receiver position and made it possible for guys like OBJ, who made that spectacular one-handed catch. Calvin Johnson was doing this when OBJ was still in high school. I don't think I need to say any more.
Ladies and gentlemen, we present to you Calvin Megatron Johnson. Now let's move on to another surefire Hall of Famer in Peyton Manning.
This guy not only put not 1, not 2, but 3 stellar organizations in Saturday Night Live, Nationwide, and Papa John's. What more can you ask for? First career pass, touchdown, Marvin Harrison. Only duo to have more than 40 20-yard touchdown receptions. quarterback to wide receiver. Again, Marvin Harrison. Retired as passing yards leader, 14-time Pro Bowler, 7-time All-Pro, only quarterback to win with not one but 2 different organizations. Retired as with the 3rd highest number of wins, 27 playoff games, 54 game-winning drives. I mean, the guy's done it all, and that's just stats. That's not watching him play. That's not watching him revolutionize with Omaha and everything else that he's done. I could just talk to death, but it's slam dunk. The guy's revolutionized the game. What was that?
Because you listen to me talk about him for years.
Yeah, it's undeniable what he did to the game, for the game, how he changed it.
Absolutely. Ladies and
Put him in
gentlemen,
the Hall of Fame just based on his forehead too.
yes,
It's a 5-head.
it continued to get bigger as his career got longer. Ladies and gentlemen, we present to you Peyton Manning.
Omaha.
All right, let's move on from the offense to the defensive side. We have a ball hawking safety, Charles Woodson.
So Charles Woodson, I wouldn't say 100% defense, just because he got a few offensive snaps in there. But Charles Woodson, I hadn't gotten to see him play as much as some of the other players until I started looking into him a little bit more with this Hall of Fame thing. This guy, no doubt, is a Hall of Famer, high caliber player. His stats speak for themselves. He's 65 interceptions, was just 5th of all time. 33 forced fumbles, 13 defensive touchdowns, tied for most of all time. Over 1,200 tackles, and he was a 9-time Pro Bowler. So the Super Bowl champ, Pro Bowl, Heisman Trophy winning defensive player who, played around as a wide receiver briefly. I mean, watching him play, he's passionate. He always seems to know where the ball's going to be. He started out as an Oakland Raider, 1st-round draft pick. He played there for quite a while. His overall career was from 1998 through 2015. He did have a brief stint in Green Bay, as you can see. He didn't know that he wanted to be a Packer until he was, but once he was done with that, he did go back to Oakland to play for a little while. He just was a quarterback's worst nightmare. He was always there. He was actually picking off Peyton Manning. He was able to read what they were about to do. Oh, I think we got Romo there. He was always popping up, making those difficult interceptions, getting his feet in bounds and running it back for a touchdown, pick 6, or forcing the passer out of the pocket, fumbling the ball. I mean, he was just a passionate, high caliber player. No doubt belongs in the Hall of Fame.
Ladies and gentlemen, we present Charles Woodson. Now we move on to one of Peyton Manning's old teammates, Reggie Wayne.
1 second. Okay. So, all right. So I'm not the biggest Colts fan that I was, but I was a really big Colts fan while Peyton Manning was throwing to Reggie Wayne. Reggie Wayne drafted back in 2001, 30th overall. He had 13 years in the NFL, 10 of which he caught passes from Peyton Manning. He was number 2 to Marvin Harrison, but I think on any other team, he would have been a number 1 receiver, and he was for a couple of years after Marvin Harrison retired. In those 13 years, he played 211 games, was voted to 6 Pro Bowls, and over his career, he got over 1,000 receptions, 1,070, with over 14,000 yards and 82 touchdowns. He was a good wide receiver, made even better by one of the best quarterbacks the NFL has ever seen. He went to 2 Super Bowls with 1 victory. And just amazing catch. I mean, he allowed to pull pressure from Marvin Harrison. They created that double threat, going down the field to catch so many touchdowns, so fast, very good route runner. And he really helped. I mean, I think Peyton Manning pulled up many receivers, but he was already good and allowed a great quarterback to get even better. And so it's just made him look even better by comparison. So Reggie Wayne.
Ladies and gentlemen, we present to you Reggie Wayne. Now, out of all the candidates that we're presenting today, I have to say Reggie Wayne is probably the one I am most skeptical about making this year's Pro Bowl Hall of Fame. Simply because wide receivers tend to have a hard time getting in, and he doesn't have the top of the line stats like some of those players do that are already in. But he is a special player, and I think if he doesn't get in this year, he does eventually get in on a future ballot. So
did Marvin Harrison get in? I don't remember.
He's not in.
Okay, so I think Marvin Harrison would probably get in before him, just because his stats are a little higher, though he didn't play as long. But as you said, wide receivers have a hard time getting in.
Yeah. Let's move on to a different wide receiver.
Actually, Marvin Harrison did make the Hall of Fame.
Did he?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. I thought maybe he hadn't because of some off-field issues that he ran into after his career was over. But I mean, he was a pretty good player. So, all right. So we're gonna move on to the senior committee. Drew Pearson played for the Cowboys. I will be presenting him, of course. And there we go. He was an undrafted free agent out of University of Tulsa. Went to the Cowboys, played for 10 seasons. There were 17 rounds in the draft that year, and he didn't get drafted. He won one Super Bowl with the Cowboys. He went to 3, lost the other 2 to the Steelers. He's a 3-time Pro Bowler, 74, 76, 77. 3-time first-team All-American, All-Pro. Also 74, 76, 77. Member of the All-Decade team of the 70s. Most receiving yards in 1977. Back then, top was 870 yards. It doesn't look quite as good now, but back then looked pretty darn good. He has 489 receptions. Yes. 7,822 yards, 48 touchdowns all time with a 16-yard average. He played in 22 postseason games with the Cowboys. They were always in the playoffs. He had 68 receptions in the playoffs with 8 touchdowns in the playoffs. He's also most famous for one particular play, and that would be the Roger Staubach toss for Hail Mary. It was because of that play that they called it a Hail Mary. After the game, Staubach, being asked the question, said he just threw it up and said a Hail Mary, and they started calling it a Hail Mary. The man was fast. He was hard to catch. He was difficult to cover in an era when defensive backs were allowed to maul you. They were allowed to just destroy you. I mean, there was so few rules then than there are now. And that was all the video I had, which is why it had stopped. But an all-around special player. A lot of people think he should be in the Hall of Fame, and this year is his year. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Drew Pearson. All right. Thank you, everyone, for joining us for this exciting edition. A little different. I liked it. I had a lot of fun this year. We got one more after this. So, and I can't wait to see how it ends.
Yeah, I felt like Jess and Brady this week actually knowing stats and what people have done. So it was a little weird.
Well, you see, you invite me in, people start like, oh, I should learn stats. When the caliber of guest goes up, the caliber of the hosts go up as well.
I heard shots fired. What's your record this year, Brady?
I don't know, because it wasn't on this slideshow. So
I gotta say, You're not looking at first place in the playoffs right now, but
No, but I won
Hey.
the regular season, so
you did win regular season.
Sam,
And,
you and I are tied, right?
We are tied. We are tied. Yes.
Tommy, I think we lost.
Actually,
Yeah, I mean, I was there 1 week, and I think I went like what 1 in.
Well, we're talking about the playoffs too.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, well, I think I won 1 game in the playoffs.
Spoiler alert. Me and Jessica are tied at 8-4. The other 3 guys are tied at 6-6.
And I got a thanks for showing up trophy.
So really, they're playing for third place.
Hey, bronze is still a medal. It still gets the podium. I'm coming for it. We got to do scores next week so we can actually have a third place winner.
I'm okay with that. If you guys
That's the
want to do
only
that.
way anybody's actually going to win, because if Sam and Jess pick the same team, they can't win. So we're gonna have to. And if we pick, so I mean, say we all pick Kansas City because F Tom Brady, like it's not really gonna go well. So we need to like separate it somehow.
Talk about
We'll
a
figure
future
that
Hall
out
of
in the
Famer.
post production.
What, Sam?
To talk about a future Hall of Famer right there.
Yeah.
I'm voting no on him.
He's been to 48% of the Super Bowls since he's been in the league.
Oh yeah, he's got more Super
48%.
Bowls. When he can fit rings on both hands.
This is his 10th or his 10th ring, potentially.
This is his 10th appearance, I think.
That
Yeah.
makes me want to vomit.
10th appearance in 21 seasons. How crazy is that?
Yeah. So he's just glad he's not playing Eli Manning.
I mean, let's be clear though. Every team that he has been on has been set up for him. I mean,
Hey,
as
I was just
well
talking
as it
about
can
that
be.
today.
it works. You can't ignore the results. I mean, just because the team is set up for him, he could go out there and lay a goose egg, but he's able to make these plays.
Oh, yeah, he is
64
great.
years into his career.
He is absolutely great, but
Don't
I
hate the
think
player.
a lot of times
hate the
more
game.
credit than is deserved is
I
given.
agree 100%, Jess. If he went on to like the Cardinals, or he went to some other team that didn't have the pieces,
Yeah.
I don't know that he would have the same results.
I think
he
I
picked
think
the
he'd
Bucks.
still look good, but and I do think he's one of the greatest of all time. But right now to be in the Super Bowl, and I don't think he's playing his greatest ever. I think it's just he just tends to really have great teams around him.
No, if Tom Brady from 5-6 years ago came to this Tampa Bay Bucks team, they would have been Hall of Fame picks, or excuse me, Super Bowl picks from the season's get-go.
Right.
But his age, he's still putting up good stats for being 43 years of age, but not as good as what could be given if you put, say, a Kyler Murray or even a Matt Stafford on this team, someone who can really just launch the ball to these receivers and tight ends and other first round pick cast offs that the rest of the league has given up on.
See, but here's the antithesis to that. Those particular quarterbacks don't have the smarts that he does, knowing where to put it and when to put it.
I think
So-
that's his biggest skill. His biggest skill is
By
knowing how to
far.
read the defense, knowing how to play against what's being presented to him and change it up at the line of scrimmage. So like he knows where to put it, where it needs to go, when it needs to be spiked, time management. Like he's got the brains. But
I wish we prepared for this so you could have the clip of Tom Brady going, what?
No, maybe I'll post one after the Super Bowl when he has ring number 7.
The other thing he's got going for him with this is just experience. I mean, we already talked about how many Super Bowl rings he's got. Because of that, he's got more playoff experience than anybody else ever has.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, Peyton Manning, he went how many times and lost in the championship game. So it's like that limits the number of like wins he can have. But I mean, to get to all the Super Bowls, he has to win all the championships. So to get to 10 Super Bowls, he has to win 10 different championship games.
Yeah,
And he's been in the
postseason wins.
playoffs every year that he was healthy. Every single year. The only year that the Patriots missed was the year he injured his Achilles at the beginning of the year.
Oh, yeah, he injured.
And they still went 10-6.
Yeah, I was about to say,
Yeah.
because I keep thinking, Tommy's told me this a couple times. I keep thinking they made it, because
Nope.
they 10-6, but
Just
they
missed
Missed it at 10-6.
10-6, and you don't make it, and yet we have teams who in Sam's division of the NFC least that didn't make 500.
But you also got to think though.
Hey, Seahawks
their
did
team.
that and won a playoff game.
So did
7-9.
the Carolina Panthers at 7-8-1. So, I mean, it's not, the record isn't always indicative of how you play during the season. Because it's a tough division, then you're going to lose a few games in the division.
I think it just gets tougher from here on out too for every team in that division.
I'm kind of hoping Tom Brady wins and retires.
He won't.
For the love of God, go away.
We can all hope, but we all know it's not happening. He's got one more deal. He'll play it out, and then maybe he'll hang it up.
How long's his contract?
One more year.
Yeah.
He signed a 2-year deal with $50 million. You know, a little paltry $50 million for 2 years.
No. So,
$50 million between friends.
will Tampa Bay draft a quarterback to train under him for the year after that?
No.
I think they draft a quarterback this year.
That's what I'm saying, like in 2 months.
Yeah, and with the 31st pick, they will draft a quarterback.
No, because they're not going to have the 31st pick. They're going to have to trade up to get a quarterback. It's going to be terrible.
They'll trade up from 31.
They might trade back and trade out of the first round altogether. Who knows?
We will next week.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll trade all their draft picks all together for one QB.
No, a running back.
The infamous Reggie.
Right.
What?
Ricky Williams.
Ricky Williams.
Oh.
Jesus, I'm sorry. I'm all over the place tonight.
No, I was making fun of the Ryan Leaf debacle.
Oh, they didn't trade up to get him.
No, or who was it? Someone traded their entire draft.
That was the Saints.
Saints.
Traded their entire draft to get Ricky Williams.
Ricky Williams.
Okay.
Of course, there was also the Herschel Walker trade from the Cowboys to the Vikings, where they traded a boatload of picks for Herschel Walker at the end of his career. So that set up the Cowboys dynasty of the 90s.
They got Emmett out of that. They got Irvin out of that. They got a good deal.
They didn't get Irvin out of that. Irvin was actually on the team before that. It was he was actually the first of the triplets on the team. So it was, I think it was Aikman, it was Emmett, it was the offensive it was basically set up the line, so the defense, they had picks all over the place, and they picked well. So
I think I can end us on a very fun hypothetical for tonight.
Please do.
If a team were to offer an entire draft to the Kansas City Chiefs, will the Kansas City Chiefs trade Patrick Mahomes?
No,
No.
Because they would have to offer multiple number ones.
Well,
Maybe not more than one, maybe 2 drafts.
They offer 2 drafts, maybe.
maybe, but Andy Reid's doing what like Belichick does, and he pieces all that stuff together. So he would have to know who he was going to get.
Sure.
Have to know on the
He could
other
get
end.
Stafford. He could get Watson.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, Mahomes obviously.
Stafford and Watson have combined 0 playoff wins.
Have
But
you seen the
you
teams
put
they're on?
them.
They are very good quarterbacks, though.
You put them on a team with a head coach like Andy Reid and the weapons that Casey has.
Hmm
Easy.
They will have playoff wins.
Yeah, I mean,
No doubt.
they're on the Lions and the Texans. I mean,
Texans quarterback of note before Watson was Matt Schaub.
yeah. And
Their
Lions quarterback
running back of note was a undrafted running back.
yeah,
Like, they're not a good organization.
they have
Well-
good players, but never together. So
Andre Johnson.
yeah, he was good, and
Hopkins was there too, wasn't he?
he got traded to the Cardinals.
Yeah,
Unfortunately,
you trade away the best receiver. We're gonna have to cut so much of this. But you trade away the best receiver in the league, bar none, and you get an aged, injured running back in return for it. that right there, I can see why Watson wanted out of Houston.
Well, and like Houston,
And then overpay your trade for your left tackle.
That too.
well, and
Yeah.
then they took Denver's best receiver and didn't do anything with him. They took Demaryius Thomas halfway through the season, and he didn't do squat.
Because they were going to make the playoffs. I didn't understand that trade when it happened.
No, I didn't either, and I was mad as a Denver fan. But
Bill O'Brien absolutely screwed that organization for years to come.
Yes, he
At least
did.
5 years, yeah.
Because he was operating as coach and GM, and he had nobody except for McNair telling him no. It was
how many teams? How many teams do we see where someone up in the office thinks they can handle more than one job and it doesn't work out?
Hey,
well, you know why? It was because he came from the Bill Belichick tree.
But I
And
mean,
he's like, oh, well, he'll just make this Patriots 2.0. And guess what? You're not Bill Belichick.
well, they're trying that in Miami too. But like, what did I say for years? Once Al Davis died, the Raiders were going to do well. What happened? He died. All of a sudden, they're borderline on the playoffs. Like, all of a sudden, they're doing well because he's not trying to do all these jobs.
Yeah.
Cowboys have not been doing well. I'm sorry, Sam. They have not been doing well because Jerry Jones tries to do everything. If they would let him coach, I think he would try.
hey.
Jerry Jones is
That's fair.
overcommitted to the offense when you need to have a balanced team to play the game of football.
The Ravens Billick did it 1 year, and then they tried it again, and it ended up with him being fired.
Yeah. You can't deny. I mean, Billick went to the Super Bowl because we drafted one of the best, if not the best, defenses the league has
I
ever
can deny
seen.
anything I want. Doesn't mean I'm right.
Don't tell me how to live my life.
And he
Right.
tried to do it again. He cut a statistically average quarterback, which is the only thing that team needed, and tried to go high power offense after the defense was better, and it didn't work out.
Good old
Same
Elvis
thing is
quarterback.
happening in Houston right now. They got scared of what they may have to pay Hopkins in the future. So they traded him away and tried to replace the best receiver in the league with a bunch of mid-tier receivers. It didn't work out. Bill O'Brien lost his job, and now Houston Texans fans are going to be suffering for the next couple seasons.
Well, do you think it's bad juju coming over from the Astros from that whole World Series debacle?
No, I just think
Yeah.
Brian.
You need to save those kinds of questions for when we do baseball because you're digging in a whole different mind of my brain.
All right, let's go ahead and wrap this up.
Sounds good. All right, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for sticking with us all season. All like 5 of you that watch every week, which might be just the 5 of us. Please like the video, leave a comment, let us know who you think's going to make the Hall of Fame vote this year, who you think should. There you go. All right. So subscribe so you know when we're doing new videos. We're still trying to figure out what we're doing after football. So after we take a break. So, but as always, I'm Tarik.
I'm Sam.
Thank you to our guests.
Thanks for having me.
See you guys next week.
Ready?
Good luck, everybody.
Yeah. All right.
And
Thank you
you
guys.
have a Hall of Fame week.